Welcome back to our chilling series exploring the haunted corners of the Rocky Mountains, where history and horror intertwine in ways that defy explanation. In this third installment of Most Haunted Ghost Towns of Colorado, we delve deeper into the shadows cast by ghostly legends, uncovering tales so spine-tingling they'll leave you questioning the boundaries between the living and the dead. From abandoned mining camps to desolate railroad stops, Colorado is a treasure trove of spectral stories rooted in tragedy, betrayal, and unrelenting sorrow. Colorado's ghost towns are more than just relics of a bygone era. They're vessels carrying the echoes of lives lived and lost. These sites bear witness to events that continue to reverberate through time: gold rushes cut short by greed, frontier feuds settled with bloodshed, unsolved murders buried beneath layers of dust, and the lingering presence of those who refuse to move on. Each town holds its own dark secrets, whispered through creaking floorboards, flickering lantern light, and disembodied voices that drift through empty streets. Whether you're drawn by morbid curiosity or an insatiable thirst for the supernatural, these destinations promise encounters that blur the line between reality and nightmare. In this episode, we'll journey to some of the most infamous haunted ghost towns across Colorado, places steeped in lore and fear, where the past refuses to stay buried. We'll peer into the shadowy depths of deserted saloons, explore eerie cabins cloaked in mystery, and tread cautiously through abandoned mines teeming with restless spirits. Along the way, we'll hear first-hand accounts from witnesses brave enough to confront the unknown, examine chilling evidence captured by paranormal investigators, and unravel the tragic histories that give rise to these hauntings. So dim the lights, keep your ears sharp, and prepare yourself for a descent into the macabre. As we step into the haunted heart of Colorado's ghost towns, remember, sometimes, the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil, and once you cross it, there's no turning back. St. Elmo, a phantom legacy frozen in time nestled high in the Sawatch Range of central Colorado, St. Elmo stands as one of the state's best preserved ghost towns, its weathered wooden buildings and rusted mining equipment serving as silent sentinels to a bygone era. Established in 1880 during the height of the silver and gold rush, St. Elmo quickly became a bustling hub for prospectors, merchants, and adventurers chasing fortune in the rugged mountains. At its peak, the town boasted over 2,000 residents, numerous saloons, a general store, a schoolhouse, and even a newspaper office. Yet beneath its picturesque facade lay a darker narrative, one marked by greed, violence, and untimely deaths. One of the most enduring legends tied to St. Elmo revolves around the Stark family, whose patriarch, Anton Stark, was instrumental in founding the town. The Starks owned several successful mines and were among the wealthiest families in the region. However, their prosperity came at a cost. Locals whispered about Anton's ruthless business practices, including sabotaging rival operations and intimidating competitors into submission. His iron grip on the town earned him both admiration and animosity, setting the stage for tragedy. In 1893, Anton was found dead under mysterious circumstances near his mine shaft. Though officially ruled an accident, rumors swirled that he had been murdered by vengeful rivals. Since then, visitors have reported seeing a tall, imposing figure clad in a miner's coat wandering the abandoned streets after dark, believed to be Anton's spirit unable to leave behind the empire he built and destroyed. Another prominent haunting stems from the tragic tale of Annabelle Stark, Anton's daughter, whose life ended in heartbreak. Annabelle fell deeply in love with a young miner named Charles, but their romance faced fierce opposition from her father, who disapproved of Charles's humble origins. Desperate to prove himself worthy, Charles ventured into a dangerous mine tunnel in search of riches, only to perish in a cave-in. Overcome with grief, Annabelle locked herself away in her family's cabin, refusing to speak or eat. She eventually succumbed to starvation, leaving behind a legacy of sorrow. Visitors claimed to see a young woman dressed in Victorian attire standing in the window of the Stark cabin, gazing mournfully toward the mountains where her lover met his fate. Others report hearing faint sobbing emanating from inside the structure, accompanied by the sound of soft footsteps pacing restlessly. The town's general store, once the epicenter of commerce and gossip, has also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Employees tasked with maintaining the building describe hearing muffled voices and the clinking of coins, as though invisible patrons are browsing the shelves. Some claim to see shadowy figures hunched over counters, inspecting goods that haven't existed for over a century. One particularly unnerving incident involved a volunteer curator who swore she saw a mannequin-like figure standing motionless in the corner of the room, its face frozen in a blank stare before vanishing without explanation. Modern-day investigations into St. Elmo's supernatural claims have yielded intriguing results. Thermal imaging cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, particularly near the old mine entrances and the Stark cabin. Electromagnetic field (EMF) meters register unusual spikes, especially close to antique tools and machinery left behind by miners. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from audio recordings, which capture disembodied voices uttering fragmented sentences like, "Help me," and "I'm still here." Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, St. Elmo remains a popular destination for tourists and thrill-seekers alike. Its well-preserved structures and breathtaking alpine scenery make it a favorite spot for photography and exploration. For those brave enough to venture into the town after sunset, the possibility of encountering Anton, Annabelle, or one of the countless other spirits said to linger adds an element of excitement and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor steps onto its dusty streets, they must decide whether they are ready to face the darkness that lingers within these walls, or will they become another chapter in the town's tragic tale. Ashcroft, echoes of gold fever and grief perched amidst the towering peaks of the Elk Mountains. Ashcroft stands as a haunting reminder of Colorado's tumultuous mining history, a once thriving boomtown reduced to ruins by greed, misfortune, and the relentless march of time. Founded in 1879, Ashcroft quickly rose to prominence thanks to the discovery of rich silver deposits in the surrounding hills. Within months, its population swelled to over 2,500 residents, complete with a post office, 2 newspapers, 20 saloons, and even a courthouse. Yet beneath its glittering veneer lay a darker narrative, one steeped in tragedy, betrayal, and the unrelenting specter of Death Point. One of the most infamous incidents tied to Ashcroft involves the murder of John M. Butler, a prominent mine owner whose ambition knew no bounds. Known for his aggressive expansion tactics and willingness to eliminate competition, Butler made enemies as quickly as he amassed wealth. In 1883, his body was discovered slumped against a tree on the outskirts of town, riddled with bullet wounds. Despite extensive investigations, no suspects were ever identified, leading locals to speculate that the killing was orchestrated by jealous rivals. Decades later, visitors exploring the area report seeing a shadowy figure resembling Butler pacing anxiously near the site of his death, clutching his chest as though reliving the fatal moment. Others describe hearing faint gunshots echoing through the forest, accompanied by the sound of heavy breathing and labored footsteps. Another haunting figure associated with Ashcroft is believed to be Mary Sullivan, a young woman who ran a boarding house catering to miners and travelers. Described as kind-hearted and industrious, Mary's life took a tragic turn when a fire swept through her establishment in 1884, claiming the lives of several guests. Consumed by guilt and grief, she took her own life shortly thereafter, leaving behind a legacy of sorrow that continues to haunt the remnants of her home. Witnesses recount sightings of a pale figure dressed in period clothing wandering the charred remains of the boarding house, her hollow eyes fixed on some unseen point in the distance. Some claim to feel an icy draft pass through them as she drifts by, while others report hearing soft humming emanating from vacant rooms, believed to be Mary tidying up after guests long gone. The town's saloons, once raucous gathering spots filled with laughter and revelry, have also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Employees tasked with maintaining the crumbling structures describe hearing muffled conversations and the sound of glasses clinking together, though no one else is present. Objects are known to move inexplicably, chairs scrape across floors without visible cause, and bottles vanish only to reappear hours later in entirely different locations. One particularly unnerving incident involved a tourist who swore he saw a bartender mixing drinks behind the counter, only for the figure to disappear when approached. Theories abound that the bartender may have been one of the many souls lost to violence or illness during Ashcroft's heyday, forever trapped in the confines of its lower levels. Paranormal investigators exploring Ashcroft have documented numerous instances of unexplained phenomena. EMF detectors routinely spike in certain areas, particularly near the old courthouse and the burned-out boarding house. EVP recordings capture faint whispers pleading for help, interspersed with anguished cries. One investigator captured a chilling photograph of a translucent figure standing in the doorway of the courthouse, its hands raised as if begging for mercy. These findings have solidified Ashcroft's reputation as one of Colorado's most active haunted sites. Despite, or perhaps because of, its grim history, Ashcroft continues to attract curious souls eager to confront its spectral inhabitants. For many, visiting the site serves as both a pilgrimage and a reckoning, an opportunity to honor the lives lost and acknowledge the atrocities committed in pursuit of wealth and power. Whether you're drawn by the allure of its haunting beauty or the weight of its tragic legacy, Ashcroft offers an unforgettable experience where the past refuses to fade quietly into oblivion. Independence, shadows cast by silver and blood high in the rugged terrain of the Mosquito Range lies Independence, a ghost town whose name belies the harsh realities endured by its early settlers. Established in 1879 following the discovery of rich silver veins, Independence experienced a meteoric rise fueled by dreams of fortune and prosperity. At its zenith, the town boasted over 1,500 residents, multiple saloons, hotels, and even a red light district catering to miners seeking respite from their grueling labor. Yet beneath its gleaming surface lay a darker narrative, one steeped in violence, betrayal, and the unrelenting specter of Death Point. One of the most pervasive legends tied to Independence centers around that Bloody Christmas massacre of 1881, a brutal act of vengeance that left an indelible stain on the town's history. Tensions between rival mining factions had simmered for years, culminating in a violent confrontation on December 25. What began as a heated argument in a crowded saloon escalated into a deadly shootout, leaving 6 men dead and countless others wounded. Witnesses claimed to hear screams piercing the air as fists flew and chairs overturned. By the time deputies restored order, the bodies had already been hastily buried in unmarked graves. Locals believe the spirits of the slain miners haunt the abandoned saloon, their ethereal forms illuminated by dim lantern light. Guests staying overnight have reported waking up to the sound of gunshots ringing out, followed by deafening silence, as though the massacre plays out again in an endless loop. Another haunting figure associated with Independence is believed to be Emma Carter, the madam of the town's most infamous brothel. Known for her fiery temper and sharp wit, Emma wielded considerable influence over the male-dominated community. Her reign came to a tragic end in 1884 when she was found strangled in her quarters, the victim of a jealous lover. Since then, visitors exploring the dilapidated structure report seeing a voluptuous woman dressed in crimson silk lounging provocatively on the balcony, her expression frozen in eternal defiance. Others describe hearing faint laughter carried by the wind, accompanied by the jangle of spurs and the low murmur of conversation, as though a party from another era continues to rage within its crumbling walls. The town's mines, once the source of immense wealth, have also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Miners tasked with maintaining the tunnels describe hearing muffled voices and the sound of pickaxes striking rock, though no one else is present. Shadows flit across peripheral vision, disappearing when directly observed. Some claim to see apparitions of men clad in tattered clothing, their faces gaunt and weary, working tirelessly even in death. Others report feeling an inexplicable urge to dig, as though compelled by an unseen force to unearth hidden treasures or secrets. Modern-day investigations into Independence's supernatural claims have documented numerous instances of unexplained phenomena. Thermal cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, particularly near the old mine shafts and the brothel. Audio recordings pick up fragmented phrases like "help me" and "don't let go," delivered in tones of sheer desperation. One particularly unsettling discovery came when a team member set up motion-activated cameras overnight, capturing footage of a translucent figure standing motionless at the entrance of a collapsed tunnel before vanishing without explanation. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, Independence remains a popular destination for tourists and locals alike. Its dramatic setting and rich history make it a favorite spot for photography and leisurely strolls. For those brave enough to venture onto the site after dark, the promise of encountering Emma or one of the countless other spirits said to linger adds an element of fascination and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor steps onto its rocky terrain, they must ask themselves, are they prepared to face the echoes of the past, or will they become another chapter in the town's macabre legacy? Anonymous Forks whispers beneath the snow perched atop a windswept ridge overlooking the San Juan Mountains. Anonymous Forks stands as one of Colorado's highest altitude ghost towns, a desolate outpost battered by harsh winters and scarred by human folly. Established in 1873 during the silver boom, the town briefly thrived as miners flocked to exploit the region's abundant mineral wealth. At its peak, Anonymous Forks housed over 450 residents, complete with a general store, a hotel, and even a newspaper. Yet, its remote location and unforgiving climate ensured that prosperity was fleeting, leaving behind a haunting legacy of isolation, despair, and spectral encounters. One of the most persistent legends tied to Anonymous Forks involves the Dike Mine disaster of 1884, a catastrophic event that claimed the lives of 16 miners when a tunnel collapsed unexpectedly. Rescue efforts were hampered by avalanches and sub-zero temperatures, forcing authorities to abandon the operation. The bodies were never recovered, leaving their families to grieve without closure. Decades later, visitors exploring the abandoned mine report hearing faint moans and rattling chains emanating from the sealed-off entrance. Some claim to see shadowy figures huddled in the corners, their faces obscured by darkness, while others describe feeling an oppressive weight pressing down on them as they approach the site. Another haunting figure associated with Anonymous Forks is believed to be Margaret O'Connell, the wife of a local sheriff who served during the town's final days. Described as fiercely independent and resourceful, Margaret bore witness to the slow decline of Anonymous Forks as residents fled in search of better opportunities. When her husband perished in a blizzard while attempting to deliver supplies to stranded miners, she chose to remain behind, refusing to leave the home they had built together. Her spirit is said to wander the snow-covered streets, her translucent form clad in a heavy woolen coat. Tourists recount sightings of a solitary figure trudging through knee-deep drifts, her breath visible in the frosty air before vanishing without explanation. The town's general store, once the epicenter of commerce and community, has also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Employees tasked with maintaining the building describe hearing muffled voices and the sound of footsteps echoing through the narrow aisles, though no one else is present. Objects are known to move inexplicably. Tools vanish only to reappear hours later in entirely different locations. One particularly unnerving incident involved a volunteer curator who swore he saw a child playing with marbles in the corner of the room, only for the figure to disappear when approached. Theories abound that the boy may have been a victim of illness or accident during the town's early years, forever trapped in the confines of its lower levels. Modern-day investigations into Anonymous Forks' supernatural claims have yielded intriguing results. Thermal imaging cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, particularly near the old mine entrances and the sheriff's residence. Electromagnetic field (EMF) meters register unusual spikes, especially close to antique tools and machinery left behind by miners. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from audio recordings, which capture disembodied voices uttering fragmented sentences like, "I didn't do it," and "set me free." Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, Anonymous Forks remains a popular destination for tourists and locals alike. Its dramatic setting and rich history make it a favorite spot for photography and exploration. For those brave enough to venture onto the site after dark, the promise of encountering Margaret, the doomed miners, or one of the countless other spirits said to linger adds an element of fascination and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor steps onto its icy streets, they must ask themselves, are they prepared to face the echoes of the past, or will they become another chapter in the town's macabre legacy? As we traverse the haunted landscapes of Colorado, from the opulent halls of St. Elmo's Stark Cabin to the somber grounds of Ashcroft's burnout boarding house, striking similarities emerge that transcend individual locations and histories. These patterns are not merely coincidental but reflect universal themes of human emotion, unresolved trauma, and the enduring power of memory. From the wailing saloons of Independence to the shadowed basements of anonymous Forks, these ghost towns share a commonality that binds them together in a spectral sisterhood of sorrow and suspense. One recurring motif is the concept of unfinished business. Whether it's the victims of unethical experiments, or the betrayed trust of patients subjected to inhumane treatments, these spirits seem tethered to the earthly realm by grievances left unaddressed. Their presence manifests as restless energy, often communicated through auditory phenomena, cries, whispers, or disembodied voices, that serve as pleas for acknowledgement or closure. This theme resonates across cultures and belief systems, reflecting humanity's innate need to resolve conflict and seek peace, even in death. Another shared characteristic is the role of architecture in amplifying paranormal activity. Historic buildings, with their labyrinthine corridors, thick walls, and hidden alcoves, create environments conducive to isolating individuals and heightening fear. These structural elements act as metaphors for the psychological barriers erected by those who suffered within their confines, trapping emotions such as anger, despair, and regret. It's no coincidence that many reported hauntings occur in spaces imbued with emotional significance: operating rooms where surgeries went awry, basements where bodies were stored, or wards where patients met tragic ends. Lighting and sensory manipulation also feature prominently in these narratives. Flickering lights, sudden temperature drops, and inexplicable odors are staples of ghostly encounters, designed to disorient and unsettle. Such phenomena strip away the comfort of familiarity, forcing guests to confront the unknown. The use of mirrors, a recurring element in stories from various haunted hospitals, adds another layer of psychological tension, as reflections distort perception and blur the boundary between self and other. This interplay of light and shadow becomes a tool wielded by unseen forces, creating moments of visceral terror that linger long after the initial shock subsides. Finally, the prevalence of historical context cannot be overstated. Each location's haunting is deeply rooted in its unique past, shaped by the socio-cultural milieu of its time. The brutal medical practices embedded in the DNA of older establishments contrast sharply with the glamorous yet tragic lives immortalized in urban legends. Yet both narratives tap into broader archetypes of ambition, betrayal, and mortality, ensuring their resonance with audiences regardless of personal experience. By drawing on these universal motifs, these haunted places transform from mere buildings into living repositories of collective memory, inviting us to peer into the abyss of our shared humanity. Thus, while each establishment boasts its own distinct flavor of fright, the underlying threads connecting them reveal a tapestry rich with meaning. These patterns remind us that the supernatural is not so much about the entities themselves but the stories they tell, the echoes of lives interrupted, passions extinguished, and truths obscured. As we continue to explore these haunted locales, we find ourselves grappling not only with the specters of the past but with the timeless questions they raise about life, death, and everything in between. The psychology of fear. Why ghost towns captivate us? What is it about ghost towns that grips our imaginations so profoundly? Beyond the creaking floorboards and flickering lanterns lies a deeper allure, one rooted in the psychology of fear and the human fascination with the unknown. These sites, by their very nature, are places of vulnerability. They are where we confront our mortality, stripped of autonomy and control, relying entirely on the expertise of others to heal us, or where justice was denied, leaving wounds that refuse to heal. When these spaces become haunted, they amplify our primal fears, transforming familiar settings into arenas of existential dread. The combination of historical context, architectural design, and the lingering presence of past suffering creates a perfect storm of terror that resonates deeply within us. The core of this captivation is the concept of liminality, the state of being on the threshold between two worlds. Ghost towns exist in this liminal space, bridging life and death, health and illness, hope and despair. This inherent duality makes them fertile ground for supernatural narratives. Ghosts, as manifestations of unresolved trauma or unfinished business, embody the tension of being caught between states. They serve as reminders that the boundaries we construct, between life and afterlife, sanity and madness, are far more permeable than we'd like to believe. For many, visiting a ghost town feels like stepping into a twilight zone where the rules of reality no longer apply, igniting both curiosity and unease. Architecturally, ghost towns contribute to this atmosphere of dread through their design. Long, sterile hallways lined with identical doors create a sense of disorientation, while poor lighting and echoing acoustics heighten sensory awareness. These features mimic the psychological effects of anxiety and claustrophobia, making even mundane sounds, a distant cough, the hum of fluorescent lights, feel ominous. The labyrinthine layouts of older structures, with their hidden wings and underground tunnels, evoke feelings of entrapment and uncertainty. Every corner becomes a potential threat, every shadow a possible harbinger of danger. This environmental manipulation taps into our instinctual fight-or-flight response, keeping us perpetually on edge. Cultural influences also play a significant role in shaping our fascination with ghost towns. Media representations, from films like The Shining to television series such as American Horror Story, have cemented the trope of the haunted asylum, courthouse, or battlefield as a locus of horror. These portrayals often blend historical truths with fictional embellishments, creating a mythology that blurs fact and fiction. Audiences are drawn to these stories because they reflect societal anxieties about institutional power, systemic injustice, and the fragility of the human mind. Ghost towns become microcosms of larger fears: the loss of agency, the misuse of authority, and the haunting specter of mistakes made in the name of progress. Moreover, ghost towns appeal to our desire for catharsis. Engaging with these tales allows us to process our own fears about mortality, injustice, and the flaws inherent in systems meant to protect us. By confronting ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena, we externalize internal anxieties, transforming abstract fears into tangible adversaries. This vicarious experience provides a safe outlet for exploring the darker aspects of human existence, offering both thrill and relief. It's no wonder that ghost tours and paranormal investigations of ghost towns attract participants eager to test their courage against the unknown. As we bring this chilling journey through Colorado's most haunted ghost towns to a close, one thing becomes abundantly clear: the spirits of the past refuse to be silenced. Each creaking floorboard, each whispered name, and each fleeting shadow serves as a testament to lives lived, lost, and lingering in the spaces we dare to call haunted. These stories are more than mere campfire tales. They are fragments of history, stitched together by human emotion, tragedy, and the relentless passage of time. They remind us that the line between the living and the dead is far thinner than we might believe, and that sometimes, the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil. But why stop here? If these accounts have stirred something within you, a spark of curiosity, a shiver of excitement, I urge you to take the next step. Visit one of Colorado's haunted ghost towns yourself. Walk the same streets where spirits are said to roam, stand in the rooms where history's echoes reverberate, and let the unknown brush against your senses. Whether you're a skeptic seeking proof or a believer eager to commune with the other side, these forsaken institutions offer an unparalleled opportunity to confront the mysteries that lie just beyond comprehension. There's nothing quite like experiencing the weight of decades-old despair firsthand, feeling the chill of a presence that defies explanation, or hearing the faint strains of voices from another time. And when you return, share your story. Did you feel the icy touch of a ghostly hand? Hear the faint tap of footsteps in an empty corridor? Or perhaps nothing happened at all, but isn't that silence just as intriguing? Your experiences add to the rich tapestry of lore surrounding these haunted places, ensuring their legacies endure for generations to come. Share your findings with fellow enthusiasts, document your journey, and keep the conversation alive. After all, every whisper contributes to the symphony of the supernatural. Until then, keep your lanterns lit and your courage steady. The spirits are waiting.